Welcome. So let's begin with our last section for today. And here there is a very interesting story that talks about the Wimbledon has its tennis and the whole story which has been very artistically crafted. So just go through this story and then we will solve the questions related to it. So here, based on the story, the passage actually calls about a quite radical approach and present it as an elegant of surrender. So mild surrender where one acts against the social expectations is a correct statement. Now the passage also talks about a very interesting statement that it has no laziness, not to laziness but to limits, right? And therefore submitting to one's limitation gives an effect of age and other factors ought to be conflated with laziness. That's again correct. And the passage actually ends about talking or discovering a leading man, not of an action but of a rest, and that is but of that of a resting one here. So again, this is a correct phase. It's actually supporting the reframing of the leading man's idea. So all three statements are correct here. The next is again the Hugh Grants, and Hugh Grants actually is watching the men in the not the semi-final but it is the quarter final, as it has been said, right? So it clearly says that it was being seen during the quarterfinals. Okay, just read this again and you would, yes, here it is, the quarterfinals. Okay, the next is the phrase unexpected ace. Now the passage actually frames the idea as positive. Okay, so here if the word which has been used with the view of opprobrium, which means a disgrace, it is opposite to what the author is trying to say. The author is trying to praise in the form of praise be, right? So this is an incorrect statement again. So this is again incorrect. Now it grants subject the demand of the society to the wisdom of his body. That is correct, because the body's quite wisdom over the society's performance was what was mentioned, as we have already said here, right? So this is the correct answer. So only 3 is the correct option here. Coming on next, now process by which countries choose the labor productivity gap with the technology leaders based on the convergence theory. Now it says that the convergence theory divides economic eras into the breakaway, catch-up and final tuning, and it also divides the entities into either the technology leaders or the technology followers. Now the process became millions of years ago, where it was scavenging 3 million years, then hunting 1 million, farming 12,000, industry less than 200, and that's how the phases begin. And then it says that during the breakaway phase, the per capita income of the technology leaders was increasing, but it unchanged during it remained unchanged for the technology followers. In the catch up phase, the new technology and the per capita income gap was very little with the technology leaders, and in the final tuning phase the participants actually try to extract maximum remaining benefit by exhausting the technology leaders followers in the similar per capita income. So which of the following conclusions are correct? The passage says that the income per capita is unchanged for the followers, is not the same as slow progress, right? So this is an incorrect statement. The next is in the catch-up phase, the it's not because the leaders stagnate. So again, this is not correct. It does not talk about the stagnation of the leader. In the fine-tuning phase, the technology is exhausted, and the remaining benefits from an increasing exhausted technology leaders and followers have the similar per capita income is taken into account is correct. And the industrial technology following the scavenging period, which preceded the hunting, which itself was followed by farming, that's correct, because the timelines are given 3 million, 1 million and somewhere around 12,000. So that's correct. So 3 and 4 are the correct statements here. Now based on the same, the convergence model divides the nation into 3 phases, right? And 3 phases of economic progress. Now 3 phases of the economic progress were breakaway, catch-up phase and the fine-tuning phase, but this also talks about the economic entities being divided into two categories, right? So this is not the correct one. Then at the heart of the convergence theory, it is basically talking about the labor productivity gap, not the gap between the labor and the productivity, right? So it's the labor productivity gap with the technology and not just between the labor and the productivity. So technology is the key thing here. So again, this is incorrect. Now the technology leaders have arrived earlier at the different economic eras, that is correct, and the time period of the convergence is somewhere not mentioned here, but it does not show the start point. It simply says 3 million, 1 million, 12,000 and 200, right? But the exact figure is not mentioned, so we possibly cannot say that this would be the correct. It would be a deduction from the concept, so possibly only 3 would be the correct answer here. The next is an interesting question. We are trying to find out, the first thing is P and Q contain equal amount of copper and zinc, right? Now P has 20% copper and Q has 60% copper. Now equal amount would be 50-50. So what I do is I take the difference. So 50 minus 20 is 30 and 60 minus 50 is 10. So my ratio is 10:30 of P and Q. That's when I say the ratio of P and Q, it's the distance with Q and distance with P, right? So that part is 10:3 and therefore it would be 1:3 as the correct option. The next is A is a 2-digit number, B is also a 2-digit number. However, it is obtained by reversing the digits of A and B. If A minus B is a multiple of 27, where A is greater than B, how many such different A's are possible? Now, it's important to understand when I take A, it's 10x plus y, but B would be reversal of it, so B would be 10y plus x. Now, solving this, A minus B is equal to 9x minus y. Now, if I say A minus B is a multiple of 27, what could be the possible values? 3, 6, 9, right? With 3, the cases could be 3, 0, 4, 1, 5, 2 and so on. Okay. So, what possible values can be when I have x minus y is equal to 3? There could be values of 3, 0, 4, 1, 5, 2 and so on. So when I calculate, there are 7 such values. Okay. Now when I come to 6, the difference is 6. So it is 6, 0, 7, 1, 8, 2, 9, 3. So how many values? 4 values. When it comes to 9, it could be only 9 and 0. So how many values? 1 value. So total if I add, how many values? 7 plus 4 plus 1, which is 12 values are possible for A. Now B is also a 2-digit number. So a simple way I can say is A is 30 and B is 03. Okay, that's the standard convention to understand, and to understand that 30 minus 3 is 27. So that's another way you can just have it in your mind. So I hope that's clear. When A minus B, we are talking about a case with difference 3. So it is 3, 0, 4, 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, 4, 8, 5 and 9, 6. So those are the 7 possible values here. Then 4 possible values and 1 possible value. So total 12 possible values. Now 0 is encoded as ADSN. How do you encode stop? So Z plus 1 is A, E minus 1 is D, R plus 1 is S and 0 minus 1 is N. So similarly, S plus 1 is T, T minus 1 is S, O plus 1 is P and P minus 1 is O. So TSPO would be the correct answer here. The next question is an interesting question. There are 3 types of rectangular tiles. The area of the rectangular that has to be covered is 3 by 100. Okay, without breaking any of the tile. Now X and Y are the maximum and the minimum number of tiles that can be used to cover. Then what is X minus Y? Understand, if I need to have the maximum number of tiles, I'll use the smallest size of the tile. So in each of the cases, I'll use the tile size as 3 inch. Okay, so A into 3 plus B into 7 plus C into 11, and that would make it 100 tiles. So A plus B plus C when I calculate, what could be the values I can put here to make it 100? So 31 into 3 plus 7 into 7 into 1 plus 0 into 11. Okay, so that is 93 plus 7, 100 tiles. But how many numbers I have taken? 31 and 1 here, okay, and 0 here, right? So 31 plus 1 plus 0. So 31 plus 1 plus 0, that is 32 tiles I took. And this was the maximum number of tiles. Okay, now let me take the minimum number of tiles. So for the minimum number of tile, I need to take the tile size 11. Now with this 11 tile size, in the same way that I am trying to do, okay, I am trying to cover the 100, I am trying to sum it to 100. Okay, so what could be the highest number of tiles with 11 that I can take? 11 tiles, 11 inch of the tile, 8 such tiles, okay, then 0 tiles of 7 and the remaining tiles of 4, so 4 tiles of 3, okay, that can be taken. So it's 88 plus 12, that makes it 100. So how many tiles I have taken? 8 here and 4 here, that is 12 tiles. In the maximum number, I took 32 tiles. In the minimum number, I took 12 tiles. Now I have to find out the difference between the maximum and the minimum number. So 32 and 12, the minimum and maximum difference is 20. So my answer here would be 20. The next is an interesting problem. Train has to complete a journey of 800. It meets a minor accident, its speeds become half, and if it meets a mechanical defect, the speed becomes 1/4. Now, on its way, the train meets an accident at 200 kilometers. Then after 400 kilometers, there is a mechanical defect. Had the train developed the mechanical defect after 200 kilometers and met the minor incident after 400 kilometers, there would have been 4 hours more to reach the destination. Okay. What is the original speed of the train that you have to calculate? So in the first case, let me say for the first 200 kilometers, the speed is V. Okay, so I am calculating the time. The second in the same case, for the next 400 kilometers, the speed is half V by 2, and for the remaining 200 kilometers, the speed is 1/4, so V by 4. So this is the case when you have the actual case. Okay, now the next case is when there is a mechanical failure. So when there is a mechanical failure, what happens? It is 200 at a speed of V. Then what happens? There is a minor incident at 400. So breakdown at 400. Now this 400 would be at the speed of V by 4, and then the remaining would be at the speed of V by 8. So that is for the second case when the train has developed a mechanical fault and it has met a minor accident. Now these two equations I have, the change have taken place is at 4 more hours than to reach the destination. So I subtract this, and that difference would be what? This minus this would be 4. Now I calculate the V. So this is a simple way to calculate the V. It's important that in the second case, in the first case, right, the speed is V by 2 and V by 4. In the second case, the mechanical defect occurs after 200 kilometers. Now the mechanical defect occurs, so it becomes V by 4. Now after the mechanical defect has occurred, there is a minor accident. So half of that would happen. So it's already V by 4. So half of V by 4 would happen, and therefore we have taken V by 8. Understand this concept carefully, very important. Okay. So that's the whole crux of this question. If you are able to understand it, you would be able to solve. Then it's simple. So it's just 2 equation and the difference is 4. So you just take the difference and solve the equation, and you get V is equal to 200. So you get the answer 200 here. The next question, in a recruitment process, the selection of the candidate is based on the performance of 3 components, 1, 2 and 3, and the weightage response respectively. Now this data is given below to find out the exact cutoff for exactly 3 candidates to be selected. Now this is a very simple question. So for the first component, it's 0.2, 0.3, 0.5. I just take the value and multiply it in each the case. So it is 5 into 0.2 plus 4 into 0.3 plus 0.5 into 6, right? This becomes 5.2. I do the same, okay, multiplying each value with the respective ones and adding them up. So it becomes 5.2, 5.1, 5.2, 4.5 and 5. I'm just finding out the total values for you. It's a simple question, just a simple calculation that you have to do. Now what is important to understand? Given the data below, find out the cutoff score if exactly 3 candidates are to be selected. Okay, now exactly 3 candidates are to be selected. If I take a cutoff of 5.2, only 2 of them would be selected. As soon as I take 5.1, 3 of them get selected. So my cutoff score would be 5.1 here. The next question is, there are 3 statements, S1, S2 and S3. Protecting the environment is an existential exigency of humans given the impact of environment degradation on climate change. Now, the scientific consensus has not been achieved with regard to the extent of contribution of human intervention to the climate change, and environmental activism includes climate alarmism and extremist point of view, which becomes the focus of many climate change deniers. Now, if I say S3 is a counterpoint to S, that is incorrect, because S3 talks about the critics of the activism and it does not talk about the existential agencies, right? So it does not actually deny the role of the existential exigencies. So this is an incorrect statement. Now S3 is unconnected to S1 and S2. That is again incorrect, because all 3 are directly related to climate change, so I cannot say this as well. S2 could be the reason for S3. That appears to be a very possible reason, because we are trying to understand the positions of alarmism and polarized positions or the deniers of the climate change. So this clearly actually gives the reason for S3. So 3 only is the correct option here. The next is, now these kind of questions have been asked for the first time for CSET, not before, but it's a kind of basic IQ questions, we could say. Now between a cricket captain and a team member would be what? Between them would be an informal and a firm relationship. Between a judge and the lawyer, the relationship would be a formal relation and a firm relation, because it is bound by rules and therefore it has a firm relation. Between a vice chancellor and a deputy registrar, it would be a formal and an open-ended communication, because they would have a constant discussion. Between the peer groups, it would be informal, it's not a formal communication, and it's again open-ended. It's a kind of equal day exchange process that takes place. The next is the tools of communication and the purpose. So memorandum is a standard internal instrument, and that is used to issue a directive, right? So it is used to issue a directive. Flyer is a single sheet of information that could be sent to a non-targeted group or a non-targeted information which does not have a fixed audience set. BCC is a blind copy which we usually send in the email, so it is confidential. The person does not know to whom else, to who the person in the BCC is actually the hidden person, right? It's the blind person, so it's confidential. And minutes are the recordings of the discussions that have been done. The next is, which among the following action could constitute the most important directive in resolving the interpersonal conflict in an office with culturally diverse personnel? So action 1 says that direct personals to practice activities that are cultural markers of the diverse group. Now this is something which says that it is forcing a person, so it could be more intrusive and not an appropriate action, we could say. Allow conflict to resolve naturally over time. Now again, this shows a passive behavior which is a reflection of a weak leadership, so not good. But encouraging personnel to seek each other's perspective is a active way, and it is a respectful way and an effective way, we could say. So 3 would be a good option. There were many questions from communication aspect this time, right? So those who were indeed preparing for their paper 1 UGC definitely benefited. Now here, barrier to communication. Semantic barrier talks about a barrier in the field of language. So if a person is unable to understand the meaning of the word, they can't communicate. Cognitive is related to understanding, so anything related to information overload, because if the barrier is beyond the processing limit of someone, it is information overload. Organizational is the structural barrier, and it does not have the proper feedback. Affective is related to fear fear of social stigma. So that is again the correct match here. So I hope this was clear. The next is, you are asked to design a questionnaire to be filled on local by visitors based on the following objective while writing a report: to determine the feasibility of the setting up a family-oriented vacation resort in the vicinity of the lake destination in the mountain. What would the questionnaire include? The questionnaire would include the size of the family, definitely, because it governs the kind of accommodation that the person would be using. Budget, of course, the pricing and the tariff bands are important. The number of earning members in the family, this is a proxy to income, but yes, it can be captured, but it is actually not that important. Food allergy or restrictions are not an operational menu requirement that would be handled at the time of check-in to a destination, right? So number of earning members is again not a information that would be required for the check-in purpose. So 1 and 2 would be the definite things that are required to be included in the questionnaire at that point of time. The next is circular letters. Now, which of these are correct with regard to the circular letters? Now, circular letters are addressed to a group of people. That is correct. They carry a kind of standardized or a uniform content. Okay, so it's not non-standard, it's a standard content. So this is incorrect. Now again, circular letters, the appraisals and the increments are confidential. Okay, and they are actually sent through not the circular letters, but they would be sent through individual letters, because if you have 10 employees in an organization, you cannot disclose the income of every employee to every other employee. So it would be individually based, it won't be a circular letter. So again, this is incorrect. And then circular letters are cost effective. It's less cost effective, right? Circular letters are usually more cost effective because they have less costing. You have a common set that has to be sent to a huge number of people. So again, that is incorrect. So here the only correct option would be 1. The next is, there are 3 partners A, B, C in the business. Now this is interesting. A invests 1/3 of the capital for 1/3 of the duration. So A's share would be 1/3 for 1/3. B's share would be 1/4 for 1/4, and the C's share would be what? 1 minus 1/3 minus 1/4, right? So that would be the C's share, which is 5/12. Okay, now the question is, out of the profit of 1700, how much profit would C get? Okay, now I take all of these, I take a common LCM and solve. So that is 1/9, 1/16 and 5/12. I solve this, I get the ratio of A is to B is to C, which is 16 is to 9 is to 60. So the total part is 85. Now what is the C share which has been asked? So C would be what? C would be 60. 60 by the total is 85 into 17,000. So that gives me somewhere around 12,000. So 12,000 would be the answer for this question. I hope that's clear. So I have the A, B and C share, 1/9, 1/16, 5/12. I take the LCM for this, and then I take the LCM value. I have the common denominators. Simple, my denominators become common in each of these cases, and the numerators I have taken. So numerators are 16 is to 9 is to 60. Now I have to find out the share of C. C is the last one, which is 60. The total of the 16 plus 9 plus 60 is 85. So 60 divided by 85 into 17,000, which is the profit. I calculate that, I get 12,000 as the profit for C. The next is, there are 2 chemicals which do not react with one another. the container A has 10 liters of chemical A. Now one is removed, the other is poured. So what happened? In the first case it is 10. Now in the next case it is 9. It becomes 8.1, 7.2. So every time I am actually having a compounding formula, right? So initial into 1 minus the removed value divided by the total volume raised to power n, which is the number of replacements that are done. Okay, so I keep on moving with that. Now A's remaining power would be how much? 10 minus 7.29, which is 2.71. So 27 would be the right option here. So percentage of B would be 27 approximately. The last question for this set is an interesting problem. Now here, for every delivery the boy gets 5 rupees, and the end of the day he gets 2 rupees for every kilometer of the distance he has traveled during the day. He wants to earn 500 a day at a minimum and does not want to travel more than 100 kilometers. Now what's the scenario? If he travels 80 kilometers at 5, he gets 400. If he if he does 85 deliveries for 5, it's 425, and if he does 90, then again it is 450. And all of these scenarios is the scenario when he does not go anywhere. At a single point he makes so 80 and 90 and 85 deliveries. Okay, when the total distance traveled is 0, but at all of these cases he won't be able to touch the mark of 500. Now to touch the mark of 500, 101 deliveries would be required at that point, and if the distance is 0. So the question, none of the given choices is correct, but again the D choice which says that it cannot be answered due to insufficient data is correct. The data is sufficient, but the value would be 101 here, right? So that was the last question for this CSET paper. We will be doing a separate analysis of the CSET papers in a separate lecture. In case you have any questions or queries, post those in the comment section. Thanks for joining. Have a great day.